Everybody, and welcome to a brand new ESO Guides video. This is the Morrowind class, or the Morrowind base change video that I'm doing, and it is on the base game changes like the champion points, the skill system, the trait system, or not traits, skills and class changes, and then of course champion points. But before I do that, I do want to give a shout out to a person who's leaving the YouTube scene. Delta, thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you for all your hard work. I know why you're doing it, and I respect it. It's sad to see you go, but hey, life goes on, man, and you're pushing forward. So, good luck to you. So that's all I want to say there. But I want to say this about the Morrowind changes first. Whatever you read on the forums, ignore it. Ignore everything, because the changes that are happening to the game are going to be something that's going to change the foundation of this game forever. First thing you're going to see DPS tanks. You are going to see that. You're either going to see dot tanks with support, or you're going to see straight up like pure smackdown DPS tanks. The reason why is because of the way the champion point system changed. Light and heavy attacks are going to become very prevalent in the game, especially for tanking. You're going to have to do a lot of light and heavy attacks to keep your resources, or your heavy attacks to keep your resources coming in so you can block. If you're playing a sword and board tank, you're going to see damage shield tanks. You're going to see shield tanks coming into the game, and that's what I play right here on my Templar tank, but she's actually changing. I'm going to change her over to sword and board because it's going to be more beneficial to her in the long run because of the benefits she's going to get from running sword and board. It's going to be really, really, really good in a lot of ways. Because of the benefits we're getting from a lot of these changes, you guys, I'm not kidding. Like, she's going to become more of a support tank than a DPS tank, but she's still going to have the capabilities to do a lot of DPS, and that's because of the changes with the champion points. The skill changes, even with the Templar, is going to make them more of a better healer than they were before. The fact that they lost the 25% major mending and went to an 8% minor mending really doesn't change a whole lot when you see what this class is going to be capable of in the long run. It brings a lot more support than it did before. It brings a lot more DPS than it did before. It's going to bring a lot more of everything than it did before. The same thing goes with the Nightblade. The same thing goes with the DK. All the classes, the changes that they're doing to them are amazing. And regardless of what many people out there are complaining about and whining about, this is something that needs to happen, guys. The game went from requiring resource management to pretty much requiring none whatsoever. The only people who had resource issues were tanks and some DPS. Some DPS builds did have some resource issues, but it was very, very minimal because of the minimaxing that was done in the game, to where you had pretty much infinite resources. And now you're really going to have to watch your resources. And no offense to anyone out there, I'm happy for these changes. So let's get into talking about the skills first. Like I was saying about the class skills, Restoring Light is getting a huge, huge nerf, in a way, on Sacred Ground. They're losing their 25% major mending, and it's going to an 8% minor mending. But here's the difference. If you go and make a critical healer that is critical heals, this will change the playstyle of this in such a way that it'll be amazing. I don't care. It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait for this to hit the live servers. I really can't. I have a whole build for this already set up. For my Wood Elf Templar, I have a whole support tank build coming out. It's going to be day one. I'm going to have it pre-built beforehand, and I'm going to be playing it beforehand because that's how excited I am for these changes. It's going to be an amazing build. Now, when it comes to the spear shards, are you seriously whining about this? This is awesome. Because now it gives both magicka and stamina back. This means the Templar does not have to run orbs anymore. They can use their blazing spears or luminous shards, whatever, either one and give resources back. It is phenomenal change. I cannot wait for this to come in, because I'm going to be using Blazing Spear. As a tank, I'm going to be using Blazing Spear. I have, like I said, I have the whole build already ready to go. I can't wait, and it's going to be awesome. Next up, weapons did change. They got a 5% reduction in their costs. You don't even notice it, guys. Honestly, you don't even notice it. Especially if you're playing a Templar, you won't notice it. If you're playing a Stam Sork, you're not going to notice it. If you're playing, even if you're playing a DK, if you're playing a DK tank, you won't even notice the reduced cost, you know? Because of the fact that if you're playing in heavy armor, you're not going to notice a reduced cost anyways, other than what you lose out of your champion points. And that's the only difference you're going to notice. And it's so marginal that it really doesn't hurt. It just means that you have to throw in heavy attacks more often. And the game was designed with heavy attacks for that reason. So it's a good change. It is really a good change. Now, some of the skills and stuff did get some changes. Volley got an increase to its cost. Yeah, if you're wearing medium armor, it's the cost is not going to be that bad, because it's going to drop by 25%. And then if you're playing a Stam Sork, it's going to drop by another 5%. If you're playing a Templar, it's going to drop by another 5%. So it's not going to change to such a degree that it's going to really destroy the game. But like I said, you are going to see a huge change in how this game works here soon, guys. You're going to see, like I said, you're going to see DPS tanks, you're going to see DPS healers, you're going to see DPS doing support as well, because the game is now going to have that capability. You're going to see some cool stuff. You're going to see mages running Necrotic Orb, because it not only did it get does it get an increase on the fact that it does stamina too, but it also gets an increase in damage. So that's a super cool benefit. I'm sorry, it is, because now my Nightblade, my Magicka Nightblade, she has a reason to use this other than giving people Magicka and the healing aspect of it. I'm going to actually go with the damaging one, and that gives the resources back. And the reason why is because my character is going to be a powerhouse with this thing. It's going to be insane. Oh my god, I cannot wait. The other changes, though, that are kind of bad are the armor changes, and that's because the evocation is now 2 points per piece of armor equipped. So you're either going to have to wear 7 pieces of light or 7 pieces of medium to get a lot of reduction in your stuff. I would still not advise that, because you still want the benefits of the 511 if you're going for the Undaunted, because that'll increase your resource pool by 6%. So it's kind of an offset. You either go for more reduced cost or you go for more resources. Either way you go, it's not going to be a bad thing. You can either go 7 medium or 7 light and get 2% extra in all your resources, or you can go for everything like the 511, like normal, and you get 6% in everything. And so it's still going to be a thing. Now this reduction does hurt to a degree, but it hurts only minorly. It's not a massive thing. So I'm going to show you guys. I set my character up for a little bit of DPS more than I did anything else, and I'm just going to show you. So this is Wrecking Blow with 4%, only 4% reduction, guys. 4%, and a 28k stamina. So it's not as bad as most people are going to make it out. If you have 28k or 34k, 37k stamina, yeah, you won't even notice it. You won't even notice the cost reduction. You will notice the cost increase, or you're going to notice the cost increase, but only marginally. It's not super bad. Now, the other things that got changed with the update was the assault skill. Vigor got an increase in cost, and then Caltrops got a reduced cost with a increase in damage. So Caltrops is becoming more, and it's stackable. So if you throw, you got a tank using it, a 2 DPS using it, and they all throw it, it's going to stack the damage. And I'm like, yes, finally, it's going to work very similar to if you have multiple Templars running Ritual of Retribution, they all set it down. It's going to stack. The heals are going to stack, and the DPS is going to stack. So there's a lot of this stuff that's going to, and like I said, all this stuff is going to change the game in such a way. It is literally going to make the game better with the changes to the skills. Now the champion points. All I can say right now for the way the champion points are done, thank you, devs. Thank you very much. They front loaded the champion points. So now when you used to have to put 27 points into something to get 10% out of it. Like say, Mighty, Mighty, you'd put 27 points. Now Mighty is the one that got nerfed. But it's fine that Mighty got nerfed. It needed it. No offense. It needed the nerf because it was already pushing so much damage. It was ridiculous. Because you see how it says physical, poison, and disease damage? If you did a disease ability, not only did it increase the physical side of the damage, it also did the disease side. So if it was 20%, you were getting 40% increase in your damage. A 40% increase. Not a 20%, 40%. Well, if it was physical damage, it was... Sorry, yeah, no, I take that back. Wrong. Erase that. You were getting a 20% increase if it was just disease damage, and a 20% increase if it was just physical damage. Now you're just getting a 10% increase. But here's where the game really, really gets good. Precise strikes now. Look at that. 56 points, and look what I get. 20% more damage. As a Templar, to get a lot of critical damage is super hard. Even though you get 10% from your class initially, this right here, now you have 30% more critical damage. So you're going to see a change in critical damage in a lot of ways. You're going to see people stacking Precise Strikes, Thaumaturgy, and Mighty, or they're going to stack Mighty, Precise Strikes, and Piercing. Now here's the reason why they're going to do Piercing. It gives more, it's front-loaded. You get 5,000 armor penetration now out of this if you put 100 points into it. But you're not going to want to put 100 points because you're also going to want to put points into this area. Both Magicka and Stamina are going to want to use Anarok, and the reason why is because Staff Expert, your light and heavy attacks are going to increase in damage, and it can increase by a lot with cheap. 35 points, and you get 20% more damage. And then Master at Arms increases your damage done with direct damage attacks by 18%. So this means if you're focusing on doing like Pulse, a lot of direct damage abilities and not damage over time, this is gonna help you immensely with your upfront damage. I mean, it's gonna increase it immensely. I have 18% along with 20%. Now you got to think, my light and heavy attacks are direct damage. So this is 20, 18. That's 38% damage. Plus this is another 10% damage. Then you add my 50% for crits, along with the 20 here. And that's 80% damage, or 70% damage, plus the 10% for my class. That's 80% damage I get across the board. So I'm getting 80%, almost 120% more damage in my character. And if I use Wrecking Blow, that's 20% added on to it. So it's like I'm getting like 150% almost more damage, guys, on a tank. And that's physical, straight up damage. We're not talking about the other stuff. And then if you take in the fact that I can put into armor penetration and stuff with a two-handed, even a 2K. If I was to use a two-handed maul instead of a two-handed sword, I'd get 20% more armor penetration. My damage would grow by 20% armor penetration would be 5%, 10% more damage. 10% more damage added to all that. So I'd be almost 200%, like if I had Warhorn, 200% more damage on my character. And that's a tank. And that's light and heavy attacks, 200% more damage. So you're gonna, like I said, you're gonna see a change in the meta in a big way. Sword and board tanks, yeah, you guys are gonna have DPS as well. You're gonna be able to use proc sets. You're gonna be able to use your light and heavy attacks, and then if you're using dual wield tanking, you get the extra damage from bleeds, from twin slashes, and then your AoE from I can't even think of what it's called. Blade cloak? Is that it? Yeah, blade cloak. You're going to get extra damage from blade cloak. Lots of extra damage. Then twin slashes. You're going to get lots of extra damage, especially if you build into thaumaturgy instead of precise strikes, and you make a dot tank, and you apply a lot of dots, and you use twin axes, and you get your heavy attacks in twin axes. You're applying all that extra bleed now, and all that. You guys have like people just don't have any idea like how this changes the foundations of the game. You don't need armor and penetration to apply dots. You just need damage. And the more damage you have, the more dot damage you can do. So here's what a tank could do then. They could use this tree and put a bunch of points into this. Like 75, 100, 75 points or whatever into this, and they get like 30% more damage out of their heavy attacks. They could put some damage into this, to do some damage, and then everything else into Thaumaturge and Mighty, and holy crap, and then precise strikes. These three, and dump piercing all together. They could get a ton of damage. They could have this same setup, and instead of having 27 here, they put 27 here, or they take out of the Master at Arms because they won't need direct damage. They're doing bleeds and dots. They put into everything into thaumaturgy and precise. Oh my God, it's crazy. And so the other changes then, of course, the one that everyone's like griping about is the loss of Magician and Warlord. Warlord got changed to reduced cost and break free, which is heavily front loaded, 25% total if you max it out. Siphoner got put in place of Magician, and when you deal direct damage with the lighter heavy attack. This is a PvP thing, by the way, mainly created for PvP. When you deal damage with the lighter heavy attack, you decrease the enemy's health and magic and stamina recovery by X% for 3 seconds. Now, this is going to change PvP in a big way. Because now these people aren't going to have as good a recovery, and that means light and heavy attacks. I mean, you're going to have to focus more on light and heavy attacks. The same thing with over here. Arcanist and Mooncalf are not so front loaded, but they still give you a 10% increase with 43 points, 15 with 100. Really not worth it. Tenacity, the same thing, but Tenacity, I think everyone's going to get. I think Melee's going to get it. Like Sam DPS, Magicka DPS, tanks, healers. I think everyone's going to put in Tenacity because of the fact it's going to give you those resources back. And then, of course, over here, you're going to see a lot of people using a lot of different ones of these, including healers, tanks, DPS, because of what it's going to do. Front-loaded, Shadow Ward, block reduction, 23 points, and you get 10% block reduction. On a healer, with a staff, that's going to be great. On anyone else running a staff, DPS running dual wield, you get a 10% block. Great. Tumbling, reduce the cost. This is front loaded as well, and you get a lot. I think you get a lot more out of it than you did before. We can go ahead and take a look real quick. We're just going to clear that and just see what we get. So let me go ahead and see here. So it's not so heavily front loaded, but 100 points is 25%. So 43, and you're looking at, or 50 something, and you're looking at 20% reduced cost on top of the 20% that light armor wearers already get. Dodge rolling becomes super cheap for them. You're going to see people being able to do 2 dodge rolls in a fight, possibly, at a massive reduced cost, 40% reduced cost. Now, this area again, really, really a great area. And then this is the other area that got kind of hit pretty hard. Hardy and the Elemental Defender, you have to put a lot of points in. It's 15%, 15%. So 46 points, you get 10% reduced in those. But Thick Skin got an increase, a slight increase. It's 25% now, and so is Expert Defender is 25%. Quick Recovery got a hit. Not a bad hit. It's the same as it was before. 20. If you put 15 points in here, you get 5%. So this one goes up to 15 or 25% or 15%. And Bastion got front loaded really heavily, or got front loaded as well. The ones that got hit here, though, that really blew my mind was medium armor focus, spell shield, light armor focus, and heavy armor focus. Now give 5,000. So I can see a lot more changes done with people tanking. You could see. I mean, really, you could see somebody, if they're going sword and board and not damage shields, not putting any points into here at all, and not putting any points into like quick recovery so much, or expert defender so much, or they'll still put in the thick skin, they'll still put in this and this, but I think you're going to see a lot more people dumping into these things, because you can raise your resistances really high now. I mean, 5,000 with 100 points. And so you're going to see a big change in this, like I said, in the end, because that's a lot of resistances right there. I mean, you're going to see block tanks. This is what the new block tank build is probably going to be. And that's because, look at that. That's 5,000 extra resistances. I mean, that's insane. It's like a whole nether armor set added to your character. If you're wearing full reinforced gear, like say heavy armor, full reinforced, and you do this right here, and you're using a sword and board, you don't really need to worry about some of this other stuff. I mean, quick recovery. So, I mean, I could see this. I could really see this. 77. And then for a block tank, for somebody running sword and board, I could see this right here. And that right there, I could see. I could see this as being one of the meta things for a block tank. You wouldn't need your Hardy and Elemental Defender if you were playing a block tank that was a Templar, or a DK, maybe not even like that high, but still, like say, easily 37, in here kind of thing. And then that right there, 40, and then you could even take out of this and go 43 here, and then take what you have, the 13 points, and do this, and then put like 40, 40, 41. I'd probably go 41 over here. But this is something that I could see tanks doing, and that's like sword and shield tanks, and that's because of the fact that you get the greater resistances, you get the Hardy and the Elemental Defender, and then on top of that you get the quick recovery. But with it, you also get the shield expert, and 75% into that. And we're going to go ahead and of course, cancel this thing, but I'm just going to show you guys real quick, because I do get shield expert. So, and this is with an infused shield. Now just imagine a reinforced shield with those kind of resistances, and now you can use a sharpened weapon if you wanted to, instead of a defending weapon, because now you have the capabilities to increase your resistances and use a sharpening weapon. And that's game changing, literally game changing in a lot of ways. I mean, could you imagine a two-handed tank running around? You could use an armor set that gives you extra resistances, and then a DPS set like I'm using right here, and you're using this, one set that gives you extra resistances and stuff. I do think we're going to see a change in the tank meta. I do think we're going to see a change in a lot of the metas because of these changes. Now, I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on all this stuff. I think we will see DPS tanks. I do think we will see more DPS healers. I think we're going to see more DPS, like support DPS and things like that, because of the fact that you will be able to play your class pretty much any way you want. You'll be able to make your character any way you want and make them work because of the changes they're putting in with Morrowind. And it's those kind of changes that are going to make this game grow in such a way. It's going to become one of the best changes, in my opinion, they've done to the game. The only thing that they could do to this game to make it even better would be to remove, and I honestly say that, going to say this, remove the restrictions on the armor leveling. There should be no armor, like if all gear is going to be basically kicked up to CP 160, just make it that way to begin with, and just make it based on quality of gear, and just change how armor is. Like iron armor doesn't give you as much as a spell resistance, but it gives you greater physical resistance. Steel armor gives you greater physical resistance and decent spell resistances. If they did things like that with the materials, the materials, the way they give you resistances, then yes, then it would be cool. Then it'd be really cool, because then you would see people using different types of armor, different material types, instead of everyone running around in rubidite. If they did away with the restrictions on the armor thing and just made it to where armor gave you different values of resistances and different amount of, for enchantments on your weapons, it gave you different charges on the amount of charges you had on your weapon. Like, say, an iron weapon could have, say, 100 charges, but a steel weapon would have 150, and a rubidite weapon would have this, kind of thing. I think that would, and then the weapon damage as well would change based on the material it's made out of. That's one of the things I would love to see them change after Morrowind, later down the road. That if they did that, I think the game would be perfect then. I mean, almost perfect. Besides allowing us to choose any skill from any skill line, regardless. Like in the beginning of the game, you just pick a race and create your character, and then when you pick your character, you would pick 3 skill lines, or as your primary, and then you'd pick, and those primary ones would be like we have now. It would be considered your class skill lines. Then you would have underneath, you would have the class skill lines for your class, they would be templates, basically like the classic game, and they would have certain skill lines in there that you could pick from, but you could only level them, literally level them so high. Or you could, and it would only give you the ability to use the first morph if it was below that, kind of thing. Kind of like the classic game. If they did something like that, I think it would be really cool too. But I think a lot of people would be pissed. But I still think it'd be really cool, to have access to every skill in the game on our characters. That would make the game so much better, so much better. I mean, if you want to really make a bard, then you could make a really cool bard, If you wanted to make a spell sword, you could do it. There would be so many different things that you could do in the game. And that's the other thing I want to mention. I think we're going to see a change in the meta, too, with hybrids. I think hybrids are going to make a comeback with this update. I honestly do, because with the fact that the reduced cost of abilities and stuff is not really there, that you're not gonna, it's kind of thing. I think we're gonna see hybrids coming into play, but not the hybrids that you think. I think we're gonna see healer hybrids. I think we're gonna see support hybrids that use magic abilities for support purposes and things like that. I think that's the kind of hybrid playstyle we're gonna see in the future, and we're gonna see a lot of other changes, but that's pretty much it. I mean, that for me, this is it. This is the game changer for me. This is where the game becomes really good, in my opinion, with what it's doing, what they're offering, compared to what we had in the past. In the past we had some good changes. Don't get me wrong, but this is a change that the game really needed, and that's just my opinion. So. But that's it for the video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button down the bottom right-hand corner. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. That's completely up to you. And I try to release videos on a weekly basis right now. I was trying to do it daily, but there was just not enough for me to talk about that wasn't already covered by somebody else. So I'm trying to get settled in how I do my videos. But I'm gonna try and do at least 2 videos a week for right now. One normal video like this, and then a build video. Especially after Morrowind comes out, trust me, you're gonna see a lot of build videos come from me because I have a lot planned. So, but yeah, that's it for now. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and I will see you all later. Bye.